On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Papa Roach, and they're going to be performing Scars. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, tonight's video might be a bit of a quick one because I don't think it's actually a full performance by Papa Roach. I think it's just going to be a small segment of a video, and this might be one of those from Instagram, just a quick reel or like a shorts thing on YouTube. We're going to be having a listen to it, and the great thing about you guys in the comments section is that you tell me how you're getting on in terms of hearing, auto-tune, pitch correction, all that kind of thing. And I think some of your ears are starting to attune to when it's being used, when things are locking to 440 hertz. So we're just going to have a listen to this and then going to kind of explain a bit about it. But I won't put the pitch monitoring software on screen because that might give it away one way or the other. But you can decide yourselves if you believe that what we're about to hear is kind of auto-tuned or pitch corrected. But let's have a listen.
I cannot convince yourself, but at least I can say I tried. I'm sorry, but I gotta move on with my own life. I cannot be fixed yourself, but at least I can say I tried. Sorry, but I gotta move. I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut. My weakness is that I care too much, and my scars remind us that the past is real. I tear my heart open just to feel. I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut. My weakness is that I care too much, and my scars remind us that the past is real. I tear my...
And I mean, that's the reel. It's just about to run out because it only goes on for, I think, a minute. That is the limit for these videos. So, I mean, first of all as well, let me just mention that this isn't the live performance. So this is just a video to promote the fact that the live performance we're hearing is going to get released soon. So this is like a promotion thing, so don't think that they're both singing into the microphone. It's literally just to draw attention to the live performance. And now bring on the pitch monitoring software.
I cannot convince yourself, but at least I can say I tried. I'm sorry, but I gotta move on with my own life.
So I mean, I think you might have already spotted that it is, in this case, auto-tuned, because this is a live recording that we're hearing. So it means that it's been used. I don't think they would have applied auto-tune after the fact, because that's usually pitch correction, you know, when you're mixing and producing a live performance. But yeah, having said that, this kind of sound and holding notes vocally without a lot of vibrato and, you know, different vocal techniques that you might hear with other singers. It's very much this style of music, and, you know, full disclosure here, this kind of sound is something that I quite like. When we're talking about bands like, you know, The Offspring and Blink 182, you know, Papa Roach were a little bit after my time, but only by a few years, or maybe just a couple of years, because when I was at college and university, especially one of my good friends was really into Blink 182. And the vocal style is like this, where they hit notes really accurately, but they don't have, you know, any kind of vibrato on there. So, for example, going, "Are the small things," and it's kind of really short, sharp, kind of staccato in the delivery, but the pitch is what's really important. So when we're talking about auto-tune here, this is the kind of music that actually it's going to work quite well with, because it's not going to be trying to auto-tune vibrato, which is where things can go a little bit wrong. We're getting the notes just being plotted to 440 hertz. Of course, it's going to sound a little bit unnatural because even with singing naturally and trying to hit notes precisely, they still won't fall exactly on these lines all the time like auto-tune does here. And just to mention, we've got Chris Daughtry on the right-hand side. By the way, he came up on stage to perform this at the live show that we're hearing. So what I wanted to do was jump into a live show where Chris comes up on stage because I wanted to find this actual recording, but unfortunately I couldn't. But Chris has been up on stage before, so I've grabbed one of those videos. So let's have a listen to this.
I got an old friend in the house tonight. We're gonna bring him up and do a little something special. I want to bring out my friend Chris Daughtry.
So I don't know whether you guys would have noticed it, but maybe somebody got fired after this gig. I'm not sure. Because when we go back to the beginning, you can hear that unfortunately, and this is the problem with using auto-tune live, is that the auto-tune hasn't been turned off. So when Jacoby starts talking, his voice, even though he's just shouting normally, or at least kind of talking to the crowd in a loud voice, his voice gets pitched. It gets stuck to notes. So we'll listen to it again, but at full speed, and then I'll slow it down.
I got an old friend in the house tonight. We're gonna...
So, I mean, you can kind of hear it sounds a little bit wobbly, but let's listen in slow motion.
I got an old friend in the house.
I got an old friend in the house. So we've got this, I got an old friend in the house. And it's kind of trying to pitch it to notes. But this is what auto-tune does. It's literally, cut and dry. You give it a signal, it's going to try and snap anything it is hearing to the closest 440 hertz.
I got an old...
I got an old... So that's what's happening here. Even though Jacoby's voice isn't doing this, he's just going, I got an old friend, but it's taking that voice and going, na 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 na, and it's trying to find pitches. Obviously, by the time we do get to here, kind of in and around this area, this is now where it's been turned off. So somebody's realised their mistake backstage and has quickly turned off that auto-tune. But yeah, sadly, it's just a fraction of a second too late.
I got an old friend in the house tonight.
Yeah, so it's in and around this area. No friend in the house tonight, and it becomes more natural down here. That is just showing really that auto-tune is being used live, because this is actually not an official video, it's crowd shot footage. So generally you'll always get a true reflection of what was happening live. But like I've already said, this is the kind of music that I think this is going to work for. It's not going to make it, really unrecognizable, because there's loads of vibrato and trills and all the stuff that you get with more kind of mainstream pop and songs that are more of what I would say like a Whitney Houston kind of vibe, and Mariah Carey hitting loads of notes, and that's definitely not this type of singing or the style of music. So I do think that it's one of those things that can work in this particular context. Whether for you think that somebody shouldn't be using auto-tune live and they should be able to just sing it and be really accurate pitch wise anyway, then that's up to you, that's your opinion. But like I said, I've listened to a lot of this style of music, and it's just one of those things that I thought actually auto-tune's going to work quite well with this style. The auto-tune here is slightly sharp, and it's pitched it slightly sharp here. So I think in this small section, we can see that the C-sharp 4, it just snapped it exactly to that note. But it might be the case that the auto-tune has been programmed with a variation level of about maybe 20 cents, because if you do keep it exactly on these lines, it is going to sound really dodgy. So you want to give it a little bit of a softer onset, meaning that it doesn't instantly snap to a note. It lets the voice go maybe where it was going and then kind of brings it smoothly down to the note. So that's what we've got going on here. So yeah, live, I think we'll get more of a natural sound. It's not going to be like the old school auto-tune, like, you know, with Cher and, you know, back in 1998. It's not going to sound like that. And you don't want it to sound like that live. So I think we do have a natural variation here, just programmed into it to make it a little bit more subtle. So now we're just going to compare it with the original release, just to see what Jacoby's voice did back then in the studio.
I tear my heart open, I sew myself shut.
And I mean, straight away, that vocal style, na 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 na, you know, it's just hitting a note. And we can see here, actually, the D sharp 4, you know, it's pretty good. This is the thing about Jacoby's voice, that he's really close, you know, to 440 hertz, but you don't really want to be on 440 hertz because then it doesn't sound natural. You'll hear as well that it's a semitone higher, but that happens all the time where kind of later on for live performances especially, the key is dropped by a semitone or even more than that. But then you could argue that it might even be a taste thing. If you're using auto-tune, then it's not really about now struggling to hit notes. It might just be a heavier sound that he's going for with the live performances. But anyway, we'll let it play on.
My weakness is that I can't do much.
That kind of thing. Weaknesses. And it's just nah, no, you know, no kind of exaggerated vibrato, even though we can see there is a subtle vibrato. Even though pitch correction was a thing at that time, I think this sounds more like, to me, a natural voice that might have been recorded. You know, he might have done a few takes and they might have done a comp take, i.e. taking just sections of each of the vocals, but he has actually sung this. So, you know, it's not as if he's gone into the studio and can't do this. This is definitely his voice.
And my scars remind me that the past is real.
And, yeah, and there's so much expression in this. You know, ever so slightly below, but this is the point. This is the best frequency to hit with this kind of emotion, and a little bit flat here. But yeah, this is great because he's got that chest voice that he's kind of leaning into as well. Let's take it back.
My scars remind me.
My scars remind me. And actually, you get the impression of the compression on the vocal. And yeah, just the fact that he's kind of hitting these notes, kind of what sounds like right between the eyes, because it is really, to the ear, it sounds great. And if you were to try and take away from his natural pitch, it would start to sound like it's not quite hitting the same emotional chord.
Don't you just go home, 'cause I channeled all your pain, and I can't help you fix yourself. You're making me insane. All I can say is tear my heart open, I sew myself shut, and my weakness is that I can't do much, and our scars remind us that the past is real. I tear my...
So yeah, I mean, this is just such a great chorus. You know, it's just so full sounding, great melody. And again, when we're looking at distance, it kind of looks like, oh, hang on, yeah, we've got a couple of notes there that look absolutely bang on. But then it's always the case when we zoom in, we see the same two notes, and then you do get the appreciation that, you know, we're actually kind of flat of the line here, and then we come down below the line here. So when we're at a distance, sometimes you can be fooled into thinking, oh, wow, there's been a couple of notes that are on 440 hertz. With a natural voice, it very rarely ever is. I'm trying to think of an analysis video where I've zoomed into a natural voice and it's been perfectly over the line. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but maybe it's happened, you know, once. But yeah, as for hitting lines all the time, just doesn't happen. But anyway, I mean, we'll listen to a bit more of this, but it has served its purpose to show you that even with this vocal that sounds just bang on, it's still, you know, not falling on these lines of being tuned to 440 hertz.
Open, just to feel. I tried to help you once, against my own advice. I saw you going down, but you never realized that you're drowning in the water. So I offered you my hand.
And when, I mean, that note, even though it didn't get picked up, let me just take it back, because it would have been a C sharp 4, and I think it's been picked up at the top, but you could tell that that was absolutely on, I'm going to say it was on the line. And, oh, here, we did touch on the line for, oh, is it like half and half? But you could tell that there was something in that particular note that just sounded precise. Which is, you know, when you're listening to a natural voice, you can get that. And it just sounds precise for that one note.
You're drowning in the water. So
I mean, it just sounds really cool, but it sounds cool because it's in and around a natural voice. Every other note hasn't sounded like that. So yeah, like I said, singers with great pitch can do that, even though when we zoomed in, it was kind of half on, half off, but they can be on that line for, you know, maybe a note. So anyway, just because it's mixed in with a natural voice, you know, being slightly flat here, going up through, you know, and here not quite reaching the D sharp 4, coming down, and let me just move this down to see what's going on here. Yeah, and then pretty much spot on with the B3. So it's all of this variation that you get between being really accurate pitch-wise, that's what kind of makes the voice. When you're listening to a really accurate vocal, is accurate because of the inaccuracies of the expression, that you get not only something that's accurate pitch-wise, but you get something that's accurately communicating emotion. So yeah, 2 very important things that you want to put together if you want to be a great singer, and you don't always want the pitch to be perfect because then you lose the second thing. Anyway, thank you guys for requesting the first video and Papa Roach to take a look at. As always, keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!